So I was getting together with a group of people that I met online from Reddit, and we were going to play this urban fantasy game. It was like a mafia game where we would get to basically play in a sandbox and decide how we were going to make our money and climb up the crime syndicate world. But unfortunately, when everyone was talking about what type of business, I was turned off. We talked about a few things, whether it was racketeering, extortion, the works, but for some reason, the group decided on selling the souls of children after they killed them, using their souls as dust to sell to ghosts. What the? There was also the idea of killing them and selling their souls as slaves, both of which were equally considered. Needless to say, I didn't participate in that game. And I think a lot of people have these horror stories when it comes to playing evil characters, whether it's them being the perpetrator or it's another person who came into the game and is just being a crap disturber. But I don't think it has to be that way. I think you can play an evil character even in a party full of good characters without being disruptive and without halting the game or any of that crazy stuff. I think it comes down to how you perceive your character from the creation. So today, we're going to talk about how to play an evil character and how it can benefit your story and your party's playing experience. The first thing that we need to think about is what it means to be evil. I don't want this to turn to philosophy because I didn't take that class. I kind of took it, but I failed it. In general, we're not going to delve into more abstract things or perspectives like selflessness versus selfishness or anything like that. Instead, we're just going to take a very basic approach to things. Evil is inflicting harm on others. That's it. So you got to ask yourself why your character would inflict harm on another person. There are reasons why people do things, horrible things, and why they would be okay with doing horrible things to other people, whether they be petty or severe things. So you have to think about what those things are. I suggest picking something that comes up in the game, talk with your DM about it, but not something that comes up all the time so you don't disrupt the party. These things could be gold. Very easy to come up in a game. It could be a faction. Maybe your character will do things that are evil to get back at this faction for revenge at any moment that they see fit. So someone could inflict harm for their family, for money, ambition. Some of these things are more justifiable, some of them are less so. The key is to pick something that may come up enough in the game that you're going to encounter and display how your character is evil and get opportunities to explore that part of your character, but not so often that it becomes disruptive because it's coming up a lot in the game. Gold is really easy. You get rewards every so often, but maybe your character is a thief who only wants to group up with a party because they give that thief opportunities to steal things that nobles have. Generally, nobles have gold and trinkets that commoners don't have. And if the party has access to a prince or princess, even better. Maybe that's the only reason your character is with the group and is willing to stomach all of the adventures that the party goes on. The next thing that we should talk about is the line. What your character is willing to do and not willing to do. So we kind of touched on it before, but in general, maybe your character is okay with stealing, but isn't okay with killing for gold. Maybe your character wants to pull off heists, but no one should die as long as you're doing the job right. Everyone has their lines. Even in real life, in prison, there are certain offenders who can't be in Gen Pop because these guys have done something that is seen as dishonorable even amongst criminals. There are things that your character would be okay with and things that your character would not be. So once you've established, we know what it means to be evil, why your character would commit that evil, we have to think about what those things are that your character will do. Is your character willing to do blackmail and theft and whatever, but not willing to torture and kill? Everyone has a line, and you got to think about what your character's line is and when your character may cross that line or how far they would go in different situations. You don't have to think about all of this all at once. I would suggest starting with one thing and learning about your character as you play through the game. Now, when you think about alignments, there's your neutral evil, your lawful evil, and chaotic evil. Lawful evil is really easy to think about. Someone like Darth Vader who believes in a system, but maybe he wants to be at the top of the system. These people are a little more predictable because they have values and a code that is set by a system, whether it's a government, a faction, what have you, a guild. Chaotic characters are a little different. They have more nuanced behaviors, but they don't have random or sporadic behaviors. Some people think that chaotic means that you just do whatever you want. Chaos. If you're lawful, you're part of some sort of system. If you're chaotic, you go by your own values. Maybe your character has a code. So playing a chaotic evil character should mean you're thinking about the boundaries and you're thinking about when your character would do these things and why. Not just my character does things because he's evil. It's just too random. So the last part about playing an evil character is working with the dungeon master and possibly your other party members. Maybe they could work off of your character's tendencies and think about what lengths they would go to fight off evil. Why their paladin would play with an evil character. Maybe they know that is for the greater good. You've now helped your party develop their characters in a new dimension. You've explored the grays. The I'm good, but I will be okay with evil depending on X. It will help you create more cohesion with your party. Working with the DM can help you spot all of those things that may come up often in the campaign that'll help you explore your character's evil side. It'll also give the DM an opportunity to make sure that everyone is comfortable with the type of character you are playing. Don't do this stuff by pulling surprises on people. Talk to them first. Don't spring this stuff up on people, please. So as a side note, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about pirates because I was looking into it because I run a Sky Pirate game and why people even become pirates. Interestingly enough, they actually had really good reasons. Kinda. So one of the reasons that people were pirates is that it was just lucrative. It made sense compared to the other options they had. There was a lack of options, so economic standing was their reason to commit evil acts. And it wasn't just stupid people. You could have found someone who was a noble, a professor, an educated person who turned into a pirate for lucrative reasons. Another reason is war. Nations employed pirates to attack other nations without having themselves tangled in aristocracy and without the blame being shown to them. So these pirates that went to attack other people were heroes on one side of the map, but were feared in another place. This shows how nuanced evil can be. I'm sure that there might be certain people who might live in a country where to you the soldiers are fighting for your country, but to other people overseas or in other countries, you guys are the devil. You could just be following orders. Those are your lawful evil characters. You could be a samurai who offered his or her sword to someone that you didn't know was a horrible person, that was evil, and end up having to do evil things because you're honor bound to do so. I'd say think about these things and use them to better develop your characters for when you want to play an evil character in a game or you're playing in a game with other evil characters. This is my first YouTube video. My name is Lamora. I'm a professional dungeon master, and I thought since I've been running games for a while now, a lot of games, I thought I'd get online and share some of my experience for whatever it's worth to help other people who are getting into the hobby, but more so to help people who've already been in the hobby, advanced and intermediate tips for players and dungeon masters alike. I'm learning a lot the more games that I run, and I just want to share my experience and the knowledge that I have. So my next video is going to be a series that I want to do called If X Ran D&D. This video next week should be If Naughty Dog Ran D&D, inspired by The Last of Us 2. It's going to be a series where I create hypothetical situations in skits and play them as though they were D&D games. Anyways, look forward to that. I'm going to be uploading every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So until then, again, I'm Lamora. See you next week.